right, good morning, everybody. Excited to be with you, and I know that the text is just going out, so I know a handful of people are just getting on board. But I'm thrilled to be with you, and we're going to get rolling. All right, so one of the things that I've really been observing, and if you get a chance, because I certainly was on a mission of energy this morning. But if you get a chance, I'm just looking at oh, there it is. I'd written some notes in my journal for today and I couldn't see my journal. But if you got a chance, watch the morning ascent today. And I want to talk a little bit about just a few things in there that I believe are really critically important to the success of every great leader. I also last week was able to speak with our great friends and our office up there in Layton to the group of agents up there. And in the process of doing that, one of the things that became really apparent was, one, just love the fact of the thirst and the hunger that you guys have in regards to wanting to succeed. And as I was talking, I talked about three core things. I talked about vision, I talked about certainty, and we talked about just love and respect and care for other people. So just a couple of thoughts here. There's a lot of chaos that is really going on in today's marketplace. And I think that what that chaos does is it creates other chaoses that occur in our health, in our vitality. It creates other chaoses in regards to the home front, whatever that is for you in regards to your home. But it creates a tremendous amount of chaos when there's chaos in the world. And you wouldn't have to go very far back to consider the fact as you look at the fact of, we started hearing these rumors of this thing called COVID, and all of a sudden, there was a huge ordeal with COVID, which certainly is not completely gone. Then you have the complete unrest of everything politically during that time. You had a presidential election. You had all the challenges that have been happening in the line of work from the guys in blue and the guys in red, from firemen to police officers, and just the challenges that continue to seem to be talked about from a place of civil unrest. And it doesn't even matter where you stand with all of these things. It just is, you start to look around, and then you start looking at the printing of all the money that they continue to talk about, the day of reckoning that's beginning to go on in regards to inflation and interest rates and market shifts, market crashes, recessions, depressions, whatever you want to call it. And then on top of that, you can take global conflicts like Ukraine, and you start looking around, and it doesn't take too long to realize, whoa, there is a lot of unrest that is going on. And in the midst of all of that unrest, you have to ask yourself I think you have to ask yourself three questions. And here's the question. So if you can, write them down. Here's the first question. And then as I continue to see people getting on, which is great, guys, appreciate you getting on. Here's the first question. In the midst of I'm going to say the next 24 months, as we deal with these significant market shifts and changes, one of three things is going to happen. Here's the first one that I want you to write down. And that is, will I be worse off? Simple question. Will I be worse off? Now, back in the heart and the heat of COVID, I was asking this same question. Number one, are you going to move through these next 24 months, as an example, and will you be worse off? Number two is, will I be the same? Now, there's a lot of agents out there right now that people say, oh, if I could just status quo, it'll be the same. So will I be worse off? Number two, will I be just the same? Well, in some words, nothing have changed. And number three, which is where I want to focus, which is, will I be better off? There's a lot of people who may think that they're not going to be better off. You might be one of them. You may be one of those individuals who feels like, hey, maybe things won't be better off. Maybe things will be the same, and maybe other people think like it's going to be worse. And I think it comes down to, I just want to share a thought with you and a statement. In fact, Jennifer and I were talking about this just yesterday. And I said, how we treat this world that we live in has so much to do with a fundamental belief. And Albert Einstein, talked quite a bit about this. And he talked about the fact that one has to make a decision. One has to make a decision in relationship to this. Do I live in a hostile world, or do I live in a friendly world? And you say, well, George, why does that matter? Well, if you believe that you live in a hostile world, let's just say you believe that you live in a hostile environment, you believe you live in a hostile situation, you believe you live in a hostile city, wherever it is that you live, well, all of a sudden, then ask yourself, how are you responding today? If your job is to be better than you were, a year or two from now, not worse than you were, and certainly not the same as you were, but better, then if you take a step back and you say, man, what do I live in? Do I live in a hostile world or a friendly world? Now, I find it fascinating that Albert Einstein asked the question, but you look at what he was part of. He was part of the Manhattan Project. He was part of the nuclear bombs. He was part of, or the atom bomb that they created. He was one of the most brilliant human beings on earth that has ever lived for the scientific world. But he asked a very fundamental question. Do you live in a hostile world or a friendly world? And I think, as I've thought about that question for several years now, that when moments of chaos and crisis and change are occurring, how are you responding in your life, or how are you moving through your life? Are you moving from a place of everything is hostile and there's hostility? Or are you moving from a place of friendliness, kindness, love, gentleness? And you say, well, but George, there's a war going on. I totally agree there's a war going on. But do you believe that everybody's at war? Do you believe that the majority are at war? Do you believe that you live in a hostile world? Do you believe that you have to fight with the market? Or do you believe that you get to engage in the market? Those are totally different perspectives. And anger and fear and stress and passion, which passion is a combination of anger and love. Anger and love, passion, definition, anger and love, passion. So when you start looking like, okay, how are you approaching your market? How are you approaching your home front? How are you approaching your life? Well, I think you have to take a step back. It's just my opinion. And again, it's just according to George. But I think if you take a step back and you sit there and go, wait a second here, if I believe everything's hostile, like if you're one of those people that, man, immediately someone does something wrong, you're ready to fight. When you go out and drive in traffic, are you aggressive and hostile? Are you constantly on your horn? Are you speaking out loud to yourself or even others in the car going, can't believe they did this and that idiot did that and that stupid person did that? Just ask yourself, what world do you live in? Now, I really deeply believe that it's a choice. And even if you have to fight or go at war at one point in defense of whatever it is that you ultimately believe, but I just want to touch bases with you and just say, hey, look, in the nature of all of this, and in the conversational this, you just have to ask yourself, do you live in a hostile world or do you live in a friendly world? And how you respond is so important because it has to do with what your mindset is. So if you believe that all people, as a general statement, have good in them, as an example, if you believe that you're in a friendly world, if you believe you're in a friendly market, how do you respond when you prospect? How do you speak when you're presenting to buyers or sellers? How do you speak to other agents when things go sideways for a moment and get frustrated and get a little bit off? Do you respond with friendliness? Or is it always aggression? Is it fear, anxiety, stress? Because so much of it has to be the way in which you set your life up. If you set your life up with the idea that your life is one that you involve and live around a place of friendliness, then life will be better. If your life is set up that you live in a hostile world, then you're always going to be fighting. You're always going to be angry. You're always going to be defensive. You're always going to be easily offended. You're always going to look for the things that are going on from a place of damage because you live in a hostile environment. But if you choose to live in a friendly environment, well, then everything rolls off of you a lot easier. The market conditions roll off of you. The activities that are necessary roll off of you. The things that are so everyday events become so much easier to deal with and handle because you live in a friendly environment. So as you move through your career and your life, become conscious and become aware. Because the real challenge in all of our lives is a deadening of our lives. It's the walking through life oblivious. It's walking through life unaware. It's walking through life with no mindset or even an idea of what's even aware around us and what's going on. It's a lack of consciousness, a lack of mindfulness, a lack of an awareness. But when you become conscious and aware that you're going to live in a friendly environment, a friendly universe, when you're of the mindset that this is a great market, when you're coming into it with friendliness and openness, those are completely different approaches to life and to the way in which you manage and engage through this marketplace. So earlier this week or last week, again, as I said, I spoke to our latent agents. And I just want to bring 3 principles up. I'm not going to go into great detail. If you watched the morning ascent today, I talked in great detail about vision and the importance of it. So number 1 is vision. Number 2, this world is in such desperate need of your certainty. It is in desperate need of your certainty. So if you could bring a clear vision along with the certainty and the confidence that's necessary, and then number 3, as I've said for years, treat everybody you meet as if they're going through the most difficult moments of their lives. You will be right most of the time. And if that is the case, treat everybody with kindness, meaning love, respect, joy, light, and recognizing that there is an attraction to those things. I want you to consider, I remember a dear friend of mine and mentor, Steve Forey, years ago was on a dry erase board or standing at a dry erase board as I was sitting in a conference room, and he said, "George, let me draw a picture for you, my best artwork here." And what he did is he drew a picture of a candle, and then he drew a bunch of little, what you might consider moths and different things. And he said, "What are moths attracted to?" And I said, "Well, that's pretty easy." I said, "The light." And he said, "Exactly." And this, some of you know him. He was a spiritual leader for me also, but also he was the president of our organization for a couple of years here in Utah, and about 6-7 years ago. And so we would have a lot of great conversations. And he said, "I want to remind you what people are attracted to." Now, I jokingly said a little bit today, tongue in cheek, that if people think that they can be negative, 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 and then instantly turn on the light and be like positive, you're not kidding anybody. People read through that. They see through that. They feel it. They experience it, from their intuitive behaviors or abilities to their ability to read people, mind map people, discern people. We are such bright human creatures that are able to discern so much. Just something doesn't feel right. It doesn't make sense. What they're saying doesn't match what I'm feeling. You've had many moments in your life where you have experienced that. So if that's the case, recognizing that, just as a metaphor, think about the bright light in the dark night, the darkness of the market, the challenges of the market, the frustrations of the market, the changes in the market just in general. You know, somebody would say, "Oh, well, I don't like to say it that way." Okay, let's not be naive, right? Right? Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is not bliss. One of the greatest lies of mankind. Ignorance is not bliss. What is the market doing? Well, it's making some changes. Great, we can at least say that. So don't be oblivious. Don't act like it's not there. Don't, that's not the issue. The issue is not acting like it's not there. The issue is how you respond to it. That's the issue. So if one of the principles that we need to formulate today in the game of selling real estate, and frankly in your life, is to be a bright light to people, to be someone that people are drawn to, attracted to, because of either the way you're living your life, by the example you are, or just purely by the presence that you bring. By the presence that you bring. Can you stay in the light, or do you stay in the fear? Can you stay in the brightness, or do you stay in the stress and the anxiety? And you say, well, man, George, this isn't that easy. I didn't say it was easy. In fact, it's not easy at all. I'm watching people all over the place check out, freak out. I'm watching it left and right. I wouldn't even say that I haven't done any of that. But in the midst of all of that, it is an awareness, it's a consciousness of simply saying, okay, where am I going? Where am I going to spend my time? Am I going to spend my time in the negativity, in the fear, in the anxiety, in the frustration? Or am I going to come from a place of what I believe the universe and this world to be, which is friendly? So am I going to elevate my light, my energy, my presence, my attraction? Am I going to do that? Because in today's marketplace, most of you should not have a single problem selling real estate, because in the end, they will always choose the person they are most attracted to. Now, we can make light of that. No, I'm not talking romantically. I'm talking attracted to. So for you, just simply ask yourself, are you attractive? Are you bright enough that people say, man, I want to be next to that person. I want to be next to this individual. I want to be next to them because my life is better with them. I'm next to them because I know I can sell my home with them. I'm next to them because I believe in them. I'm next to them because I know things will be better with them. And that may seem like such a simple principle, but don't underestimate the one thing that I remember hearing from my mentor again, Steve Forey, though, in my early 20s. And I will never forget when he said it. He said, don't ever forget that one man or one woman makes all the difference in the world. And I remember sitting there, 21 years old, and he said, you make a difference. Don't forget that one man, one woman can make all the difference in the world. As you move through your career, you move through your life, just ask yourself, how committed are you to influencing people? See, in a simple form, guys, your life is either a warning or an example of what to do or an example of what not to do. Your life is either a place of inspiration or it's a place of desperation. It's a place where people are drawn to because of who you've chosen to become. And the deep belief that I have is there's not one person who could, if you sat down with, there's not one person in your life that is not capable, no matter who you've sat with, no matter if I sit with you or you sit with yourself or there's not one person that once they make the conscious decision of who they choose to be, that they stop paying attention to all their past mistakes. They stop paying attention to all their past history. They stop paying attention to all of their injuries. They stop paying attention to all of their things of who they believe they were or could have been. But they start focusing on the vision of where they're going and who they're going to become. Everything changes. Everything, guys. So is ignorance bliss? No. What is knowledge? Power. Yes, if you execute upon it and take action with it. What is the light that I'm talking about? It's the light of certainty. It's the light of hope and optimism. It's the light of friendliness. It's the light of being able to give of yourself, being vulnerable, open, honest, dripping with integrity to your highest level as you maneuver your life to matching your actions with your beliefs. And man, that's a lifelong goal and objective for all of us, I would hope. But the fact is that you can be that drawing power, that light that people are attracted to, just like the moth is to the candle, to remind yourself that you make a difference and that one person can make all the difference in the world. And you don't have to look very far to see that, right? You can look at the source, the famous people of the Mother Teresa's, the Abraham Lincolns, and George Washington, and everybody else that you could look at in regards to their stardom. But what about you? What difference are you going to make? What is it that you're committed to? And what is it that you're committed to in regards to the way you do make a difference? But I do believe that the only way that you get to those levels of commitment are to do the one thing that I believe has had some of the biggest impact on my life, and it's this: being willing. You might want to write this one down. Being willing to have any conversation or ask any question. Well, I said have any conversation or ask any question because you are okay with the answer. You know, maybe like I spoke earlier today, calling a spade, calling it what it is. Now, I am a huge believer, as many of you have heard from me before, that your current circumstances or your past do not equal your future. And if that is the truth, and if that is the case, that your current circumstances nor your past equal your future, then are you going to rewrite or even get more committed to your future? I am of a deep belief, having coached on one-on-one sessions now, over 50,000 one-on-one coaching sessions. 50,000. I added them up. It might even be more than that. That's a conservative number. 50,000 times I've sat down year over year, over week, year over year, week over week with agents. At this point, I would have to be a complete idiot to not see that there are patterns and habits and disciplines and rituals that people do every day to either be successful, or patterns and rituals that are unsuccessful. But either way, at this point, I'd have to be a complete idiot to not see the clues that surround me. And part of the clue I have seen over and over again in my career is an awareness and an awakening, and then a declaration of who you are to be. Not my declaration of you, your declaration for you, for who you're going to be. Now look, to wrap up this call, just a couple of things. I should wrap up. I might go another 5 minutes or so, but here we go. All right. The declaration of who you want to be fundamentally has to start with this belief, in my opinion. You have to believe that you are capable, like just a fundamental belief. I have to believe I am capable of creating the life that I am destined to live. You're capable. You have the ability. Now, I know that human psychology will step in and go, oh, come on, George, really? Come on. And I know that the filters will start going on. And then some of you will be like, yes, I can be. I can be that person. But some of you will buy into the old stories. You'll buy into the old patterns, the rituals that you have served with your life for so long. But you really fundamentally have to believe that you're capable. And I can just promise you, if you could just for a moment, Lean in on my own belief that you're capable of doing it, because I've seen so many people do it. Not only myself at times, and I have highs and lows just like you do, just like myself and like others. I watch them persevere through the pathway of knowing that they're capable. They go and they refine their thinking, they refine their message, they refine the story that they're telling themselves. And as you move through that, you start to become to the conclusion, oh, yeah, I'm capable. I can do this. That's the first thing. Closing principle. I so deeply believe that you are capable of a purposeful life. Simple term, simple statement, a purposeful life. Now, there's been books written and things spoken like, purpose-driven life, but a purposeful life, like one that has deep meaning, almost sanctity / sacredness to it, that you're capable of designing that, like getting so clear, so mindful, so aware that all of a sudden when you walk into meetings and to appointments and prospecting and presenting, that there's something different about you. It's different because people are like, wait a second here, she knows where she's going. Oh, wait a second here. Feel his calm. Something different about that person. And that is different. You're not crazy. You're not running ravenous in regards to just your emotions and your thoughts and your energy, but you're really centered because you designed a life that you became conscious of and said, this is the life I'm going to design. And then that fundamental belief that I spoke to first, which is, man, I'm capable. I am capable of creating that life. I'm going to lean on maybe George's belief for a minute, others' belief for just a second. I'm going to lean in on it for a minute because I can feel that they're right. And as time goes on, as you master these principles and you master these ideas and you become conscious and aware at a higher level, all of a sudden, it starts to move into place. Here's my belief. Optimism could not be more important than it is today. Stop looking outside of you for all the answers. Don't look to me. Don't look to anybody but you. Look for your inspiration. And if you say, man, that comes from God, well, I think there's not very many people who don't believe that God is within. So look for the inspiration. Look for the intuition. Look for the whisperings. Look for the guidance. Take time to think. Take time to be in silence. Take time to meditate, to pray, to ponder, to think, to observe, to become conscious and aware so that you know that as you're climbing the ladder of success, man, having been there, some of you I've talked about this, but like some of the changes, right? Some of the things you've seen me do, like, whoa, what's going on? Well, I can tell you what's going on. I'm just making sure my ladder's up against the right building because I'm going to climb. No matter where I am, I'm going to climb, just like I believe you're going to climb. Make sure that you are crafting and creating the life that you want as a mother, as a father, as a friend, as a sibling, as a kid, or to your parents, to as a parent, as a husband, a wife, a partner, a lover. Just make sure. And I said that was the last principle, but looking at time, I'm taking just one more minute here. And I didn't get to it. I apologize. And I wanted to say it to you. I said earlier today with probably a little more vinegar and a little more fierceness when I was in front of everybody. But I'll tell you this, guys. Stop settling. Stop it right now. Stop giving in to mediocrity and stop making yourself feel good and accepting that it's okay to be just okay. Stop selling yourself on the idea Gosh, I'll tell you, it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts when I personally do it and I catch myself doing it. And I'm telling you, it drives me nuts when I watch agents do it. And that is that they settle. They settle in on the idea that it's okay to be average. It's okay to just get by. It's okay. About 6 years ago, or 7 years ago, actually, this May, middle of May, about 7 years ago, I sat and described with a counselor. Yes, a counselor, a coach, whatever you want to call him, a counselor. All right, a licensed practitioner counselor. And about 7 years ago this May, I sat and I described what I considered to be the perfect relationship, what it looked like, what I wanted it to be. I used words like, I want a sacred communion with my partner, with Jennifer. I talked about a soul to soul connection. I talked about growth and depth, talked about adventures and memories. And I talked about, I had written this, I had crafted this most beautiful message of what I wanted that intimate relationship to look like. And guys, I know there's people on this call that in those arenas, sometimes you may find yourself struggle. Best advice I could give you, get first clear on what you want. I didn't sit down with this counselor and describe everything I didn't want. I described what I did want, but I'll never forget. And some of you have met Paige, such a dear friend of mine. He's retired now. But Paige said to me, he said, oh. He looked at me very intently and methodically, and he said, you want to be part of the 1%. And my eyes, I remember the moment so vividly, my eyes lit up and I went, yes, I want to be part of the 1%. And he said, won't be easy. I said, I didn't think it would be. And in fairness, I had no idea how challenging it would be. Naively, I said, oh yeah, it sounds good, 1%er. And what I mean by the 1% is this, is that 99% of the people just accept average. 99% of the people accept a relationship just as it is. And I guess that's just as good as it's going to get. 99% of people just accept what the market actually is. But it's just what you accept becomes your reality. Because see, some people still right now, like I can talk to like a Amy Clark this month who had 5 closings. 5. And I think to myself, oh, it's just a month or two ago we were talking about, I was a little nervous and scared. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Changed it like that. So how do you change it? You get conscious. You cast a vision. You get clear. And you ask and demand of yourself that there's no settling inside of you. That although you may be completely content with the journey that you've had, but you have not left and you have not lost the ambition to become your very best self. Look, in closing, which I said 10 minutes ago, is this: the mission, the mode, the message, the environment, like all that Everest is about is one thing. One thing: assist you, help you, serve you, give to you the ability to become your very best. That's it. Your best. As I was talking actually earlier today with an Amy Clark, we were talking about the fact that people get in this world of comparison of what did this person do to compare. If you are looking from a place of almost want to say demeaning someone or downgrading someone or kind of poo-pooing all over someone in regards to what they've achieved, shame on you. To validate what they do so that you can or invalidate what they do so that you can feel better, shame on you. Don't be that person. But if you can look around you and take the best of everybody and let their lives be a place of inspiration for you as proof of what's possible for you. That's the great measuring stick. It's not what did you do in comparison to all the great agents on this call. That's not what it's about. The great lesson is what did you do in relationship to what you could have done? That's the only level of measurement you should be equating to. I sure as hope that if there is that judgment at the end of days, and all of a sudden I'm standing there in front of God, I sure hope he's not sitting there, well, I better compare myself against one of my dear friends like a Michael Brand or a Ruby Batty on this call. I'm like, I hope they're not comparing me against them. I might not get in. I hope that I'm only compared against what I did in relationship to what I could have done on this earth. Well, you better live your life that way starting now, because what other agents have done should only be nothing but inspiration to you and helping you to refine and define what you want your life to look like. Not what did they do so you can tear it down and justify your incompetence and so you can feel better about you not achieving. That's not a winner. That's losing at every level of life. So again, you want to craft a better life. You want to be a brighter light. You want to bring more to the table. You want to achieve more, accomplish more, give more, be more. Then you have to take a step back and start designing a life that you literally demand of yourself, that you live a life that is purposeful because you choose it to be that way, not because you have to have it way, not because it's a choice, because you become conscious and aware of what you're capable of. Because again, the greatest measuring stick is what did you do? What did you become? Maybe even a better way to say it, what did you become? What did you be in relationship to what you could have become? Think of all the deathbed penance that happens on people's deathbed, just wishing they would have lived their dreams, wishing they would have excelled more, wishing they had more time, because they didn't give the sacred time that they have their all. So let today be a day that you take a stand for yourself, not for me, not for Everest, for you to become your greatest self, your greatest element of you. And you know what? Yeah, it will be a trying journey. It will be challenging at moments. It will be difficult. There will be tears, frustration, and challenge. No question. We're talking about reshaping your life. We're talking about recentering the way you want life to look like for you. Well, if that's the case, well, then who would ever think that it should be easy? Shouldn't. You might even underestimate how hard it might be. But you know what, I can tell you this at the end of it, just like I sit back now, where 6-7 years ago, guys, I sat back and went, man, I don't even think I could possibly be married today. 6-7 years ago. Today, I can't imagine my life without Jennifer. Can't even imagine a waking day without her by my side. Kind of a different perspective, going from such challenge to triumph. But that's because I made a choice to be part of the 1%. I am no better than you. I am no different than you. I really am not. All I ask of you is to get aware, get conscious, wake up, and see what's possible for you so you can live the life you're destined to live. That's all I want for you. You make money along the way, awesome. You have success along the way, awesome. You sell a ton of homes, awesome. But your greatest reward will be who you've become. And it is also my greatest joy to be an observer or even a participant on your journey. Either way, it's pretty awesome to watch. When people do it, man, it's inspiring and brings hope and possibility to others that there are even better days ahead and that your best is yet to come. All right. With that, let's have an awesome rest of our Monday. Let's have an extraordinary week, guys. So many good things to happen out there. Remember, world's not in need of another salesperson. They need your leadership. They need your presence. They need your certainty. They need your vision in the midst of the chaos. So go for it. One little announcement, if you wanted to, I think they're going to show it in the training room here in Union Park. If you have it, you can get onto it, I think, on YouTube. But Tony Robbins was having an extra day bonus day. And his bonus day is he's going to be interviewing Matthew McConaughey. So that starts here in about 20 minutes. And I'm sure it would be an extraordinary thing to be listening to. So if you can come into the training room, grab a seat. If you can't, try to pull it up some other way. And I know Ruby Batia has been very, very connected to that. So she may be a way for you to get onto it or send you a link if you need it to. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have an extraordinary rest of the week. Okay.